For months, 3I Atlas was dismissed as just another cosmic visitor, a cold interstellar wanderer with no destination, no story, just a silent trajectory past the red sands of Mars. But something changed. The data shifted, and with it, the entire narrative. A pulse of light, a whisper of ultraviolet radiation, a signature too rhythmic, too deliberate, too engineered. Suddenly, astronomers stopped seeing a rock and started seeing a strategy. Now, with the James Webb Space Telescope pointed at this interstellar object, what we're observing no longer fits into the realm of natural phenomena. This isn't a comet passing through. This is a celestial event steering itself, closing in on Mars, and rewriting everything we thought we knew about cosmic randomness. If you're thinking this is just another flyby, think again. Because this time, Mars might be the destination, and what happens next could change our understanding of life, intelligence, and danger forever. Initially discovered on July 1st, 3I Atlas appeared to follow a typical interstellar path, hyperbolic, fast, and fleeting. But as days passed and orbital models were updated, astronomers noticed something terrifying. The object wasn't just passing by, it was accelerating, shifting course in real time, and not randomly. Its path began tightening toward the inner solar system, aligning itself precisely with the orbits of Earth, Jupiter, and most notably, Mars. At nearly 87 kilometers per second, faster than anything humanity has ever tracked from beyond the stars, 3I Atlas is slicing through space so quickly, it crosses the distance between Earth and the Moon in under 80 minutes. And while space seems empty, the gravitational tugs of our Sun, Mars, and Jupiter are subtly guiding it like fingers nudging a chess piece across a galactic board. Every hour, micro changes in its velocity cascade into vast differences over tens of millions of kilometers. It's as if this object wants to reach a specific place at a specific time. And according to new projections, that place might be Mars on September 26, 2025. At just 1.95 million kilometers away, that's closer than some artificial satellites. And worse, it's close enough that Mars's own gravity could finish the job and pull it in. When James Webb locked its deep space gaze on 3I Atlas, what it saw wasn't what any astrophysicist expected. Most comets, as they approach the Sun, vent gas chaotically, random jets bursting from icy surfaces under solar heat. But 3I Atlas? It breathes. Every 17 minutes, like clockwork, it emits a plume of gas, not random, not chaotic, but in perfect rhythm. A cosmic metronome ticking through space. These emissions aren't just pretty, they're functional. With each pulse, the object adjusts its path slightly, like a spacecraft using attitude thrusters to steer. Spectroscopy from Gemini South confirmed it. The outgassing wasn't consistent with comet physics. It was directional, targeted, and optimized to adjust trajectory toward Mars's orbital plane. This isn't theory, it's motion we can measure. Webb's instruments tracked each pulse, creating micro-thrusts, barely perceptible, but over weeks, they compound into major course corrections. And if this pattern continues by September 19th, 3I Atlas could come within 50,000 kilometers of Mars, closer than its own moons. At that point, a single burst, a minor increase in thrust, could tip the scales and result in a direct collision. This isn't a comet anymore. This is navigation. Comets are supposed to be soft. Ice, dust, carbon-rich compounds, all the leftovers from the formation of stars. But when NASA's Goldstone radar array bounced signals off the object's nucleus, the echoes came back. Wrong, too sharp, too metallic, too structured. These weren't the echoes of porous ice. They were hard reflections, hinting at a dense interior. Maybe metal, maybe alloy, maybe engineered. At first, scientists dismissed it as observational error, but the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter picked up the same anomalies. A hazy coma, its glowing halo, had doubled in brightness since August, with strange spikes in ultraviolet and even signs of electromagnetic coherence. All of this implies energy, not natural energy, deliberate output. And if that energy is coming from within, then we're not just looking at a rock from another star system. We're looking at something with power systems, maybe propulsion, maybe more. Dr. Avi Loeb and his team have gone public with their boldest hypothesis yet. This object is not a comet at all. It may be alien technology, a probe, a vessel, or a long-dormant messenger, and Mars might be its target or even its destination for activation. Mars isn't just a red planet anymore. It's a billion-dollar lab with dozens of orbiters, landers, and rovers working around the clock. The Perseverance rover, the Ingenuity helicopter, the European ExoMars rover, the MRO, the MAVEN orbiter. This fleet represents humanity's longest continuous presence on another world. And now, all of it is at risk. A direct impact from an object with even a 400-meter core would unleash energy equivalent to 2 million megatons of TNT. That's thousands of times more powerful than any nuclear test on Earth. The resulting crater could be over 60 kilometers wide, vaporizing surface rock, blasting debris into space, and wiping out entire regions, including possibly regions where our rovers are currently operating. But the damage wouldn't stop at the surface. Communication relays, atmospheric sensors, seismic equipment, all of it could be lost overnight. And more disturbingly, the shockwaves from such an event could knock spacecraft from orbit, disrupt Martian weather patterns, and even fling metallic fragments into interplanetary space. Some simulations show pieces potentially reaching Earth in under a decade. What if one of those fragments carries not just radiation, but design? And what if this isn't a crash, but a delivery? While most eyes remained fixed on 3I Atlas, a silent shift began beneath the surface of Mars. The InSight lander, though officially decommissioned months ago, still had its seismometers passively active, and what it recorded sent shivers through the astrophysics community. There was a low-frequency tremor, repeating every 17 minutes, perfectly synchronized with the gas pulse emissions from 3I Atlas itself. Not from the sky, not from meteorites, but from within. Mars was resonating, echoing back a rhythm it had no reason to emit. And it wasn't just seismic. MAVEN's magnetometer registered a pulsing electromagnetic field coming from the crust of Elysium Mons, one of the oldest volcanic formations on the planet. Something was responding, not out of randomness, but like a lock recognizing the approach of its key. As if Mars remembered 3I Atlas, or worse, as if it had been waiting for it. In a quiet corner of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, a small team began reviewing high-resolution scans from Mars's equatorial trench system, especially around Valles Marineris. What they found shook their confidence in coincidence forever. Beneath layers of sediment, LIDAR imaging revealed geometric formations, perfectly angular structures, too regular to be natural erosion. And in one particular scan, a triangle, nested within a circle, with a long linear trench pointing directly toward the current path of 3I Atlas. The geometry matched what's known as the Atlas spiral, an orbital pattern previously used by human satellites to slingshot around Mars. But this spiral wasn't calculated. It was carved into Martian rock, 9 kilometers long, hundreds of thousands of years old, a trajectory map from a civilization we've never known, and all of it pointing to a location where the object is projected to cross. The message was clear. 3I Atlas isn't just on a path to impact. It's returning to a site that may have once received it. The question isn't just, what is it? The real question is, how many times has it already come before? As the object drew closer, Mars's orbit began to reveal an even more chilling alignment. On the day of closest approach, 3 of its moons, Phobos, Deimos, and a newly discovered micro-moonlet, would form an arc that, from Earth's vantage point, aligns perfectly with 3I Atlas's projected trajectory. Astrophysicists call it a coincidental triple syzygy, a rare alignment of celestial bodies in a single vector. But when this alignment was modeled backward in time, the exact same configuration occurred once before, 2.6 million years ago, around the same geological period when Mars's surface underwent massive magnetic inversion and the largest known dust storms in solar system history were recorded in mineral deposits. Could it be that these alignments are not random? That they are timing mechanisms? That Mars isn't just receiving something, but reactivating a sequence, one designed to unfold only when cosmic geometry matches ancient instruction? If so, then 3I Atlas is not the initiator. It's the trigger, arriving precisely on cue. Then came the final piece of the puzzle, a faint signal, not radio, not radar, but a gravitational ripple measured by the LISA Pathfinder sensors. The wave pattern didn't match black hole interactions or neutron-star collisions. Instead, it was subtle, continuous, and oddly melodic. When analyzed through waveform visualizers, it formed something unexpected, a harmonic structure, as if space itself was singing. Scientists played the pattern through audio synthesizers, and the result was a low, throbbing tone, punctuated by brief chirps spaced in Fibonacci intervals. And when that audio was played back in a soundproof lab, EEG sensors on test participants showed consistent stimulation in the temporal lobe, the area of the brain associated with language and symbol recognition. This wasn't a sound. It was a message, not made for ears, but for awareness. And suddenly the idea took hold. What if 3I Atlas is not just a vessel, but a transmitter? And what if its final broadcast will be received not by machines, but by something buried deep inside Mars, or us? Just as astronomers finished recalculating the approach vector of 3I Atlas, new data arrived from the European Mars Express mission. Instruments around Olympus Mons, the largest volcano in the solar system, detected a strange rise in subsurface thermal gradients, but without any tectonic activity. No quakes, no gas release, just heat. Even more unsettling, low-frequency infrasound detectors captured a constant resonant hum emanating from the base of the caldera. The sound, inaudible to the human ear, repeated every 108 seconds, matching one of the harmonic frequencies previously recorded in the gravitational waves emitted by 3I Atlas. Olympus Mons wasn't erupting, it was resonating. Scientists began to speculate. What if this isn't geology? What if this is activation? Mars has always been a dead world, but maybe it's only been waiting for the right signal, the right frequency, the right arrival to come alive again. In an overlooked chamber of the ancient Cydonia region, a place long mocked by mainstream science for its infamous face on Mars, the high-risk camera aboard MRO recently captured something extraordinary. In a sunken crater partially exposed by erosion, a ring of stone obelisks became visible, perfectly spaced, geometrically arranged in an ellipse aligned not with Mars's current tilt, but with a celestial alignment that only occurs every 1.3 million years. When modeled in a simulator, that alignment matches exactly the position of Mars, Earth, and the inbound path of 3I Atlas. In the center of the formation lies a flat black monolith, now fractured, etched with symbols that bear uncanny resemblance to ancient Sumerian star charts. Scholars and symbologists raced to decode the glyphs, and a chilling phrase began to emerge. It returns when the gate turns red. The gate, Mars. The return, 3I Atlas. If this is a calendar, it's not counting seasons, it's counting epochs. And this epoch is ending now. Then came the most unexplainable data point of all. On September 11, 2025, the James Webb Telescope detected a micro-lensing effect around 3I Atlas. Light from background stars was subtly bending as it passed near the object. That shouldn't be possible. Comets don't have enough mass to bend light in this way. But 3I Atlas did. And what's worse, the degree of lensing wasn't consistent. It fluctuated, pulsed, and in those fluctuations, the distortion behaved like a directed gravity field, not a natural one. A weapon, a drive, or something even more exotic, a gravitational beacon broadcasting a kind of celestial ping to anything out there tuned to receive it. And if it's emitting gravity, then it's not just massive, it's powered, actively, which means it's not asleep, it's awake, watching, and adjusting course with every passing hour, closer to Mars. As all instruments continued monitoring the final descent arc of 3I Atlas, one researcher at Caltech noticed something haunting in the object's path. When mapped using four-dimensional modeling, not just space but time, the trajectory it's following is identical to one taken by a previously unknown object, recorded in gravitational wave archives from 3.2 million years ago. Same curve, same acceleration, same final proximity to Mars. This isn't a new visitor, this is a recurrent arrival, and the loop isn't a mistake, it's a design. 3I Atlas is part of a cosmic circuit, and we may be approaching its reset point. If that's true, this object doesn't just bring potential destruction. It brings synchronization. Something is being recalibrated. Mars, maybe Earth, maybe the entire system. And once the loop closes, it opens something else. A countdown, a broadcast, a gate. We are no longer looking at an object. We're staring into the core of a pattern that has waited eons to repeat. In the final days before the projected closest approach, NASA's Deep Space Network received an unexpected data burst from the MRO, a routine transmission relay. But embedded within the binary stream, engineers noticed anomalous data blocks, sequences of prime numbers, Fibonacci intervals, and a repeating digital pulse, 01010101. At first, it was assumed to be noise, but when decrypted using frequency analysis, the pattern formed a spiral matrix, a perfect mathematical depiction of a golden logarithmic curve, the kind seen in galaxies, hurricanes, and the projected descent of 3I Atlas. This matrix wasn't just pretty math. It mapped a multi-layered geometry centered not on the Sun or Earth, but on Mars itself. The message, if it was a message, seemed to suggest that Mars wasn't merely in the path of something. It was the core of the event, the center of a clock that is finally reaching midnight, and someone, or something, sent the key before we even knew the lock existed. September 26th, 0817 UTC. That's when 3I Atlas is expected to reach its minimum distance from Mars. But that moment also corresponds to a rare cosmic alignment. Mars, Earth, and Jupiter forming a near-perfect equilateral triangle with the Sun as the anchor point. Ancient astronomers called this configuration the Eye of the Architect, a symbolic alignment found engraved in megalithic sites from Göbekli Tepe to Angkor Wat. It's as if our ancestors remembered something we forgot. This isn't just alignment, it's activation geometry. When these bodies synchronize, strange things happen. Magnetic fields oscillate, planetary atmospheres resonate, and, most disturbingly, consciousness appears to respond. EEG studies have shown spikes in human dream anomalies during similar alignments. So now we ask, what if the reason 3I Atlas is steering toward Mars is because this is the one window, the precise moment when it can complete whatever sequence it's carrying, not just in space, but in time? While ESA's ExoMars rover continued drilling near the Argyre-Planitia Basin, its radar imaging accidentally picked up subsurface anomalies. These weren't mineral deposits. They were cuboid formations, measured at 8 meters high, buried under 40 meters of compacted Martian soil. They formed a triangle, one that perfectly mirrored the same Eye of the Architect formation in space. Engineers at the European Space Operations Center hesitated to publish the finding, fearing it would spark conspiracy theories. But the truth was undeniable. These weren't natural. Their placement, their geometry, their resonance when scanned with low-frequency radar, it all pointed to one horrifying possibility. They were planted, millennia ago, maybe millions of years ago. And now, as 3I Atlas approaches, the frequency signature emitted from those buried blocks is rising. They're responding, like antennae, or more precisely, receivers. And then came the image, just days before impact. The high-risk camera captured a shot of the Hellas Basin from orbit, and what it recorded wasn't dust or shadows or geological illusion. It was an eye, a formation several kilometers wide, perfectly symmetrical, carved into the surface like a fingerprint from above. But this wasn't visible before. The pattern only formed after a solar flare bounced off Mars's upper atmosphere and temporarily revealed electromagnetic anomalies across its southern hemisphere. The eye is aligned not with Mars's equator, but with the exact vector from which 3I Atlas is approaching. Scientists went silent. It was as if Mars had blinked, once, opened something buried deep within its crust, a signal to the sky, a signal to the object, and maybe a signal to us, because now we're not observing the event, we're inside it. The final sequence of rover-based soil analyses came in just days before systems across the Martian surface began failing intermittently. The samples from Gale Crater, processed by Perseverance, contained unexpected nucleotide analogs, not actual DNA, but molecular structures that mimicked biological coding. These weren't random. They followed binary-like sequences, as if encoding something informational rather than biochemical. What's more unsettling is that when those sequences were compared to ancient Earth microbial DNA found in permafrost, a pattern emerged. A repeated cluster that only matched one known organism, a bacterium theorized to have come from a meteorite long suspected of Martian origin. Scientists had always believed life might have seeded from Mars to Earth. But what if the truth is reversed? What if life didn't originate on either planet, but was installed? These molecular echoes may not be biology. They may be instructions, and 3I Atlas might be coming to overwrite the next phase. Without warning, on September 22nd, the Cassini Legacy Monitoring Array, still tracking gravitational resonances from Saturn's rings, recorded a sudden frequency spike. This wasn't noise, it was signal. The source? A gravitational wave ripple passing through the outer rings, timed precisely with 3I Atlas's shift in trajectory near Mars. The wave's resonance wasn't natural. It contained harmonics encoded in prime intervals, the same frequency pattern used by Voyager 1 when it attempted interstellar handshake communications. This ripple passed through Saturn, refracted by its rings, and bent back toward Mars, as if bouncing a message through the gas giant, using it like a prism. It wasn't Mars responding anymore. It was the solar system itself, waking up, echoing a choreography millions of years in the making. A loop closing not in time, but in space and frequency. Something is tuning everything. And whatever's coming, we've been inside its signal path all along. At the same moment Saturn's rings pulsed, the James Webb Telescope captured something impossible, a beam of reflected light from Jupiter's moon Europa, directed precisely back toward the incoming 3I Atlas. Europa's surface is an icy mirror, but this wasn't just a reflection of sunlight. The light contained embedded infrared patterns, geometric and rhythmic, not natural, not chaotic. When filtered through spectroanalysis, it displayed a moving fractal, a constantly shifting triangular form collapsing into a circle every 108 seconds, the same duration as the Olympus Mons hum. The source wasn't known. There are no beacons on Europa, no transmitters, no bases, just ice and silence. Unless that silence was the transmitter all along. What if 3I Atlas isn't here to awaken Mars? What if it's moving through a relay of consciousness, planet by planet, triggering buried protocols, like passwords unlocking different sectors of a cosmic vault? Back on Earth, deep within the Arctic Circle, magnetometers picked up a mild anomaly, a subtle shift in the magnetic North Pole, just a degree, barely noticeable. But it occurred simultaneously with the final correction in 3I Atlas's Martian trajectory. Then came another, and then came the reports. Whales beaching in record numbers, birds losing migratory direction, compasses behaving erratically near volcanic zones, and above it all, auroras blooming in places that should have no auroras at all. Earth wasn't reacting locally, it was responding globally. Something was interfering with the magnetic field, and it wasn't coming from the sun. It was as if our planet's core, its gyroscopic memory, was being reoriented. Not just by gravity, not just by magnetism, but by instruction, a new north, a new pattern, a final alignment. And it all pointed, not toward Polaris, but toward Mars, toward 3I Atlas, toward the true center of something we never realized we were inside. What began as a dot in the sky has now revealed itself to be the final chapter of an ancient instruction. A protocol written not in books, but in orbits, frequencies, and celestial alignments. 3I Atlas was never just a comet. It was never just an object. It is a key, a timer, a messenger, a trigger. And its path through our solar system was not random. It was inevitable. Mars was not a passive witness in this story. It was the destination, the catalyst, and maybe even the first receiver of a message not meant to be read, but felt by planets, by fields, by life. Now every instrument we have is screaming the same silent truth. The system is active. The geometry has aligned. The loop has closed. And we, suspended on this blue dot spinning through the last echoes of the sequence, must ask the most terrifying question of all. What happens next? Because 3I Atlas did not just arrive. It was expected. It was predicted. And maybe it was invited. If this is a countdown, it's too late to stop it. If it's a signal, It's already been received. And if it's a return, then something is waking up. So now you decide. Do you believe 3I Atlas is just a rock from another star, or the spark that reactivates a machine older than time? Let us know what you think. Is Mars truly the end of this journey, or just the beginning of another? Leave your theories in the comments. Share this video with someone who still thinks we're alone. And subscribe, because what James Webb is about to capture next could rewrite the story of everything.